Welcome to episode number 77, Breaking Business Barriers. This is Brent Duham along with co-host Jared Ty, also known by with Ty. He's a real estate guru. Got a super excited about our guest today, Troy Garris, and we'll get a formal intro to him in just a moment. But just to remind everybody, Breaking Business Barriers focuses in on a fork in the road. We've all had dozens of them at some point in careers, and maybe some that stand out to others. And what our listeners really appreciate and have found where we get the most comments is, hey, they're learning. Maybe they're in a fork in the road right now, and they know, hey, it's okay. It's okay to make a choice. It's okay to make a wrong choice, but just recover and learn and go from there. But that's Breaking Business Barriers. Well, also want to thank Open Media Source for helping us put this together, along with American Option Insurance. You can get a hold of them, AmericanOptionInsurance.com. They do all kinds of insurance. Just look it up. They're a broker, so they have lots of options for you. It's not bad. I myself am a customer, along with my family. But episode number 77, Troy Garris, managing partner at Garris Horn. All right, before we come out with the lawyer jokes, I'm sure Troy's heard them all by now. He's been doing this for a little while. But I'll pass this over to Troy, and Troy has a pretty specific area that he works in as a lawyer. I just happen to be in the real estate finance business. Jared, as you all know, is in real estate, has been on the finance side. And so we thought nothing better to have Troy pop on Breaking Business Barriers. Troy, you want to tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, thank you, Brent, and good to see you both. And thank you, Jared, for everything you do as well. And so I am a mortgage banking attorney, and my firm, we represent mortgage companies, so independent mortgage companies, and we represent divisions of banks that focus on mortgage. That's where we focus our attention. And so it's the usual panoply of all things that those types of companies do, and it's we focus on the single family residential side. So we're doing origination side, we're doing servicing side, we're doing forward side, we're doing reverse side. So really anything except tax. We don't do tax. Except for tax, we do anything really that mortgage banking companies might want to do. And so in a nutshell, that's our practice. We started up about 2.5 years ago, and we wanted to do things a little differently. The mortgage industry lawyers and law firms, there's a lot of good ones out there, one of which I worked for close to 20 years, really. Great firm. I still love the firm. I love those guys. But they were doing things in ways that were sort of traditional and a way that we just thought we could do something a little different, and change the model, so to speak, sort of disrupt. And
that's cool. And you did it. And you did that, what, 2.5 years almost?
About 2.5, yeah, about 2.5 years.
I remember talking to you when you made that change, and we may have been even doing a little barbecue over here, if I'm not right.
That's right. We were indeed.
Yep, that's right. That's right. But yeah, so interesting to think. And for those of the listeners, you just may roll your eyes back and say, oh, mortgage banking or real estate. It is a humongous part of our economy in the United States. Am I right? So,
yeah,
you need
now a main driver.
Yeah, all three of us represent a piece in that business, and much needed piece to deliver not only for the companies that we represent or own, but also for consumers. And that's part of what Troy does. It's part of that. He makes sure that companies are doing the right thing and what have you. So I think that's pretty cool. Hey, before I pass this over to Jared, why don't you let everyone know your preferred social media outlets? I know you're on LinkedIn and other things, but you want to let us know that?
Sure. So I run a YouTube channel. So my primary is YouTube, and I have Troy at Garris Horn, the mortgage banking live stream there. I do that Mondays and Wednesdays, 1 p.m. So that's every week. And then in addition to live streaming there, I can provide access to that YouTube channel through the various ones that different people use. And the other day, you had mentioned Steve Sims as one of your sort of mentors, and I take a page out of his book when he says, "Look, why am I trying to tell people what platform to use? So I'm just I choose mine. Mine's YouTube, but then I send that to whatever people want. So I use LinkedIn. I send it out on Twitter. I send it out on Facebook. I send it out on some others. So wherever those people want to live in the social media world, that's their prerogative, and I let them do that."
That's right. JT?
Yeah, so appreciate you coming on here. And I was speaking of social media, I was checking out your LinkedIn profile, and I saw that you had worked for the CFPB, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau.
My partner did.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, my partner did. Yeah, Rich Horn. I say that softly in mixed company.
Very nice. Yeah, I found that very interesting because I worked in banking for years and years and years, and man, the CFPB is very respected and feared in the banking world. You know, the
Sure.
ultimate sin is to get a CFPB violation. So,
yeah. There's and an interesting part of that right now is that, first of all, this is an election year, so we got to keep that in mind, right? I'm really a DC guy. I live in the Dallas area, but my nerves are DC. My core is DC, and election years always make things weird. But I think under the current administration, what has happened is a lot of the world has decided that, well, it's a Republican administration, it's the Trump administration, so we don't really have a lot to worry about in terms of the CFPB. They're just going to sort of back off the gas pedal, because they cruise along. And that is not the experience that we have been seeing with our clients. It's different for sure, but it is still, the CFPB is still very active, and they're heavily focused on enforcement in some particular areas. And there have been, even just in the past couple of weeks, there's been a number of different settlements that have issued, and they're still going hard and fast. And of course, we don't know what's going to happen, right? Like, nobody knows, nobody will know, at least until November 4th, who's going to be in the White House next year, and maybe nobody will know even on the 4th. But we do know this, that the CFPB now has an at-will employment director, and so one could imagine that, especially given what they've been saying in the hearings, the Democrats do not like the current director. So if Biden comes in, for example, as president, I would imagine that she's going to be out pretty quickly, and we'll see what happens then.
that's so interesting. It's been really interesting to watch just the changes in CFPB rules. I started in banking back in 2006 for countrywide home loans. Don't hold it against me. And at the time, I think it said on the official job listing that you needed a college degree, but they really didn't require that. And they would take pretty much. They were very liberal in who all they would hire. So going from that, and then surviving the recession, and seeing all these people who were in bad mortgages, and boy, that was a scary time. I tell you what, just going from virtually no rules to having all these rules. I mean, we didn't even have to have a license number back then. So I remember getting a email one day that, hey, by the way, you are now have a NMLS number, the National Mortgage Registry there. So that was a really interesting time.
So Troy, I always like to make sure I let everyone know that I like habanero peppers, which pop up on the screen every now and again. I don't know if I touched my my camera or what, but hey, Troy, how did you decide to, with all the things that as you were growing up, how did you choose the profession to be a lawyer?
To be a lawyer, this is a kind of interesting story. I'm the first guy in my family to go to college, and came from a poor family. My father was a corpsman, they call it, so essentially a medic or an EMT in the Navy, and they make no money. And there were 4 of us kids moving around the country all the time. We moved, just about every year. he was up in Vietnam sometimes, he's up at sea sometimes. And so we had no money. So when I was going into the college age, I was fortunate enough that my mom kept telling me, you got to go to college if you want a good job, you got to go to college. So that's all I knew. Nobody even knew what college meant. They just knew that you had to go there. So I got there, and every semester they would ask me, so what do you want to major in? And I said, I don't know. I just want to make some money. And they would say, come on, you got to decide. And then they'd send me to the counselor. The counselor would say, what do you want to do? I said, I have no idea. I just want to get a job at the end of this because I'm paying a lot of money for this. I was paying my own way, right? And so finally, I get to my major being English, just because they showed me a list of a couple of things that a couple of the different majors that I could go for that I thought I might have interest in. And the shortest one was English, and I said, I'll do that one because I want to get out of this quick and go get a job. And so I was getting near the end, and I was talking to my professors who were, at the time I was thinking, well, maybe I'll be a professor. That seems like a pretty cool job. I respected the people. They seemed really smart. I like intelligence. And so I went and I interviewed some of them. These are guys, these guys were coming out of Yale and out of Harvard, and they had their PhDs, and they said they worked on their PhDs for like 10 years or more to get their PhDs. And then I said, well, I guess I can handle that. I can study for that much longer. And, I did like what I was doing. And then they said they were making like $35,000 a year. And I said, whoa, 35,000? I can make that now doing, even without a degree. And so I quickly had to re-scramble and set a course a different way. So I just started thinking about, how can I help people? How can I do something with my mind instead of my hands? And how can I make some money so that I can provide for my family and my mom and whoever else that I might need along the way? And so somehow I found out about lawyers and law school and decided to do that, just completely by chance, but looking around, examining the evidence that was out there.
I always find it. Sorry, Brent.
No, go ahead, JT.
I always find it interesting how there's just so many directions you can go in law. Was it difficult to decide, once you decided to become an attorney, to decide where, to use your skills?
That's also kind of it's a moment where you're just sort of finding your way through the dark, because the real answer, we know this in business now, right? The real answer is there's a need out there, and you should figure out how to provide for that need. But school is completely backwards. They say, what do you like and what do you want to do? They don't even think about need. It never crosses their minds. They say, what do you want to do? What do you like? And let's teach you how to do that, at least at the book level. And law school is the same way. So what do you like? What do you're going to be a lawyer, sure, but what sort of law do you want to specialize in? What sort of classes do you want to take? But they never think once about, do you actually need, I was thinking international lawyer. I took a slightly different path, because just coming out of undergrad, I applied to law school and to this Japanese abroad program at the same time. So I got accepted to both, and I went to Japan for 3 years before I started law school. So I was thinking, I'm going to be this international lawyer. I want to do international law. Nobody really knows what that means. But it sounded cool, and I was uninitiated. I didn't know any lawyers, and so I was thinking, I'm going to be this international law person, this guru, this sort of cool sounding thing. But I get out of school, it doesn't even exist at my level. There are people who do international law, and these days more and more, there's people who work internationally and live internationally and so on. But typically, those guys are either at very, very large law firms where they have a few people, or they're very senior partners who have over the years developed that sort of a practice. So I got out of law school and didn't have any idea about how to get a job, didn't know anything about what sorts of firms were hiring. I just was out there looking, again, just trying to figure out a way to provide both. It is important, and I owe this to my mom, both a way to help the world make it a better place, but also how to support my family. And she's done both, and she's always done both, and taught me well.
You and I have we have some kids in college, and I think through this, we're recording this during the time of pandemic, and I think a lot of eyes are being opened to what you just talked about. Post high school education, and what's that? Is it changing faster? Is it still the old way? What's up with that? But I think you bring up a really good topic. That could be an entire podcast in itself. And I know Jared and I have talked about having teachers on here. They're challenging times right now, and they're putting themselves at risk, and they're doing what they love to do. Is there a particular fork in the road, Troy, that comes to mind? And again, I think we have dozens of them through a life, and maybe we've had dozens of them through 2020, all of us, not combined individually. Is there a fork in the road that comes to mind?
Yeah. So for me, I mentioned earlier that I worked for this law firm that in DC that they're still really dear people to me, and I was partners with that place a long time, and we've gone to each other's memorable events, and they're just very special to me. But there came a time where it sort of started coming back to what I had always kind of had internally anyway, and I didn't think that I was for them. I didn't think I was being what they needed me to be. I didn't feel it. Nobody ever came to me from their side and said, hey, you need to step it up or anything like that. It just felt to me like it's not in me at the moment, and I can't do this. And at the same time, I also thought, but I can do things a different way, and I really want to change the world and make it better for everyone that I touch. And so I just called him up one day and said, I'm gonna have to go a different way because I love you guys, but I just got to do something different. And it's at that moment that I started to change the way that law is thought about, and I decided we were going to structure our firm differently. We were going to treat clients differently. We're just going to do everything that we can in a way that we thought, at least for us and for our clients, that we thought was a better way. And that's no knocking on them. It's that firm's still in business. It's a fantastic firm, and I send business their way because of that. But I just thought that I got to do it differently. And I also thought, and I'm not gonna get a better chance than now because I could always wait. And, learn a little more, be a little more solid in terms of finances and preparedness for it. But at some point, you just got to go, and I just decided to do it. And so,
well, your personality, and I'm not knocking on anyone here because I have family in law and medicine, but I always kind of view surgeons and lawyers somewhat similar in some ways. Cold, not mean, just cold. They come in, get the job done, do whatever. But your personality, very warm, very outgoing, and very welcoming. And that's you and what your group has formed. Jared, do you have a question?
I was going to say something similar. I checked out your YouTube channel, and man, I'm impressed. I need to step up my game.
He does a good. Yeah, Troy and I were talking about that, and I said the exact same thing. We have all our videos loaded. I just haven't toyed with them, and I better tap the expertise of my son because he knows that stuff. Well, we're going to get ready to wrap things up. I promise always to keep them under a half hour. It's kind of the commute time, and I know you're busy, Troy and Jared. Hey, is there something to crack us up? You have a pretty good sense of humor, so you probably saw that question pop off the sheet.
Yeah, so my life is in a lot of ways it cracks me up every day. I'll tell you something. One thing that I find that's really dear to me because it hits so close to home. I told my mom, and I tell her all the time, look, I'm where I am because of you. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. And my daughter, she's in New York, she's studying finance up there. This is her last semester actually. And so when the pandemic began, so this is like mid-March, late March, and I called her, and we talk frequently about it. I called her one day and I said, it's starting to get weird around here. I don't know what's happening, but like the stores have no toilet paper. There's no Lysol in. There's still no Lysol in the places. hand sanitizer. I said, I don't know what's going on up there, but it's sort of like one of those times when there's a run on the supermarkets and they're out of water and they're out of food and whatever. I said, so go to your local neighborhood store and just like check it out. Make sure that you've got enough food, make some get some dry foods, whatever. Just sort of make sure you're good. And she said, okay, I'll do that soon, maybe, I don't know, next week or something. And I said, no, you don't understand. Like there's nothing here. You can't get toilet paper at all. You can't even get it online. Amazon doesn't have it. And she said, yeah, but I don't know if I can do that right now. I said, so her name's Sophia. I said, Sophia, what's the deal? Like, just go down your elevator, walk outside. You're in New York City. Go across the street. There's a store. And she said, well, New York is getting kind of crazy, so I'm in Puerto Rico. And I thought, what are you doing in Puerto Rico? And she said, well, tickets were like $40 and the hotel rooms were almost free. So we just a bunch of us went to Puerto Rico and we've been down here a few days. And I thought, first of all, I got to admire the ambition. And I got this is something I would do. I gotta understand that this is my influence on her. And then I had to tell her, look, the mainland U.S., they don't even know that Puerto Rico a lot of times is part of the United States. You got to figure out a way to get back because who knows what's going to happen. So she quickly did, but she came here to Dallas and she stayed here over the summer. But I had to admire the ability to spot a deal in my daughter.
When life gives you lemons, right?
That's right.
Make the best of it. That's awesome.
Well, Jared appreciate that. He and his family are travel buffs. They love to travel yeah, I'm in Puerto Rico. That is pretty darn good. So my kids are going to watch this and next thing you know, I'll get a call from, God only knows where. And, but they're just taking a little weekend jaunt.
That's
all right,
right.
let's hit through the quick round here. And as we begin wrapping up things, when you made that decision, and I think we both can answer this, and I think Jared and I are right almost all the time, but when you made that decision to leave a firm that you really loved and you had great friends there and you learned a lot, did you make that decision to leave with your head or your heart?
It's a combination for me. And I thought about it hard because, I do have a family to take care of. And, so I had to think about, can I sustain this? But I had already, I'd done a lot of preparations and I was fine financially. I'm a conservative person in that sense, very fiscally sound myself. But then my heart was no longer in what I was doing, and I had to decide to do something else because it wasn't fair to them and it wasn't fair to me and it wasn't fair to my family. So I think for me, it's more complicated than just one or the other.
Is there a book or I haven't really put these two together anymore, or a podcast or something that that you can recommend to listeners that, hey, check this out. I know you shared something with me just yesterday and I watched it, by the way.
Yeah.
And subscribed, but it was really cool. Is there something out there that and it doesn't have to be anything in our industry. Is there a recommendation? Yeah.
So I listen to podcasts all the time. It's sort of, it fills the air with good content, right? So there's a book I'm reading right now. Actually, I got it from the author. I happened to be at a function and he was a speaker. And it's called The Operator. It's by the gentleman, the Navy SEAL, Robert O'Neill is his name. The person who says that he is the individual who ended Bin Laden, and these types of books I find, I guess perhaps because I come from a military family. Myself, I was not in the military, but my family always has been. So partly it's for that, and also it keeps me grounded because what I do is nothing compared to what a lot of people like that do. So that's great. And then also with my daughter, my younger daughter, who's a seventh grader, she and I watch these various, it's really on YouTube, mostly podcasts and and most of the time it's engineering based. There's one called Physics Girl that's fantastic. just a lot of great content out there. And I try to watch it with her because she learned something, I learned something, and something we can do together.
Coolness. And then I'll pass this off to Jared right after this last question that I have. When you made that decision to leave the firm, you probably rocked some worlds, right? You were there a long time, kind of grew up in that firm, so to speak. Were you worried at all about what other people thought or maybe even said to you?
Not really. And even now, people sometimes will ask me like, so what are these other, and not just them, but other firms that are in the same space? They'll say, what are those guys doing? What? I don't try to think about that. My bandwidth is too little to be able to focus on all that and also focus on what I need to be focused on. So once I made the decision, it was cut, and I was heading down a new path. And I wish all those. I have a lot of friends in this industry. Wish all of them well. There's plenty of things to do for everybody, and we're just doing what we do, and we're having fun doing it.
Cool. JT, do you have a wrap up question?
I've actually just got a comment. I'm digging for our listeners who are just on the audio portion, they can't see, but Troy has a really cool fedora on. We mentioned travel earlier. We have a tradition with our kids. We went to Spain about 5 years ago, and we bought both of our little boys hats like that, and we always call them the Spain hats. So ever since when we travel, we try to get them a couple of new fedoras like that. So really, really cool hat.
I appreciate it. A lawyer in a fedora. It's hard to come by.
Yeah, and there's always something, I get a kick out of folks. You can wear a fedora. I'd have to wear a great big cowboy hat and I almost always have a hat on these episodes, by the way, of some sort, or a visor. But do you have a place to recommend? We can give a little plug for someone if they're looking for a fedora. Any place particular in the United States? Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I'm always on the prowl because hats, as you know, then they're hard to come by. The ones that they just got to look right, they got to feel right, they got to fit exactly your particular skull shape and face shape, and so I bought them everywhere. I didn't go to any one particular place. The last one I bought, funny enough, I was in the Guitar Center last week and buying some rosin. My daughter plays violin, so I was buying rosin for her violin, and there was a hat with some Fender guitars on it, and so I bought this Fender fedora, which I'll wear for you next time. It's a great fedora.
Very, very cool. Well, hey, let's wrap this up. Troy Garris with Garris Horn, a gem of an individual, extremely smart, well known in the industry, often on the speaker circuit. Now it's like the Zoom circuit, but with everything going on, but he does great work. Tons and tons, dozens upon dozens, and if not hundreds of recommendations of double thumbs up for Troy and his company. Troy, it's been a pleasure to have you on. As someone in the real estate business and doing the right things and like you say, disrupting, what you felt was really something needed in your life and in the industry. And I can tell you, Troy is that guy. So as we wrap it up, folks, everyone, thank you for listening. Troy has some pretty cool recommendations on there. If you're at a fork on the road, that's really awesome, by the way. And you can certainly reach out to Troy on social media. He'll be glad to get back to you. I tell you what, he's very prompt, no matter how busy he is. But hey, Troy, thank you. And as we finish this out, on behalf of Brent Duham and Jared Ty, Troy, thank you for joining us. And as always, it is onward and upward.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.